Over a month has passed since the October 7 massacre, or Black Sabbath as it's become known in Israel, and the nation is still in the process of comprehending the depths of the damages. An estimated 1,200 plus Israelis were slaughtered in the October 7 attack, of whom only about 250 were active duty soldiers. The others were civilian men, women, children, and elderly. Additionally, some 240 were taken hostage by Hamas, and at least 200 of the 1,200 are unaccounted for. Whether they are among the hostages or among the bodies who were so brutally disfigured, they cannot yet be identified. Hamas claims all Israelis of all ages to be legitimate targets in light of the national draft in Israel. But Israelis largely see the IDF, or the Israel Defense Forces, as a citizen army with a mission to protect the homeland and its people. And by extension, national service members are seen as extended family with close familial ties that develop across generations. Additionally, as national service can take many forms, many having nothing to do with combat, Israelis are considered civilians as soon as they are discharged.
A good example of the fact that Israel's is a people's army is the fact that hundreds arrived at the request of the Eshel family, lining the main road all the way up to the military cemetery where we are now to show their support. People young and old of all ages, they all are feeling the grief that this country is now stricken with at the moment.
19-year-old Sergeant Roni Eshel was considered among the missing in the wake of the October 7 massacre. It took 35 days for the IDF to finally confirm her death, until which her family held out hope for her survival, especially after the rescue of Private Ori Magidish in Gaza. Magidish and Eshel served together in the Nahal Oz base on the Gaza border as observers, tasked with gathering intelligence on Hamas's activities.
Roni's mother and father, brother, sister, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, they all came and they all spoke. People that she served with came to speak. Even Knesset member Yifat Shasha Biton spoke at the funeral here at the military cemetery. The feeling of grief and shared grief among the population. Hundreds of people who may or may not have ever even met Roni had tears in their eyes.
רונית, תראי מה קורה פה. מדינה שלמה. רונקי שלנו, אני רוצה שתדעי, 35 יום נלחמנו כמו אריה ולוויה על הגורה שלהם. 35 ימים שלא עצמנו עין ולא נחנו לרגע ולא היססנו להגיד ולדבר עם כל מי שהסכים ואפילו לא הסכים לשמוע. סליחה, נכשלתי בביטחון ולהחזיר אותך הביתה.
עכשיו אני צריכה להיפרד ממך. אני לא יודעת איך עושים את זה. אני לא מצליחה להבין איך זה יכול להיות שאני לא אראה אותך יותר לעולם. איך זה יכול להיות שאני לא אוכל לחבק אותך, לנשק אותך ולהתפנק איתך במיטה? ילדה אהובה שלי, רוני שלי, אני כל כך אוהבת אותך, כל כך אוהבת אותך. אני נפרדת ממך, תינוקת שלי אהובה. אני נאלצת להיפרד ממך. אני לא יודעת איך לעשות את זה. סליחה שלא שמרנו עלייך, רוני שלי.
In addition to the dreams, the hopes, the plans that have been dashed for the future that Roni had planned for herself and with her family, one of the things that was striking was the fact that as an observer, Roni's family mentioned that she had taken note of the fact that Hamas was planning, was watching the border and studying them. Her mother lamented in tears, screaming, "Why aren't they listening to her?" She told everyone that they were watching us and they didn't listen.
The observers unit at Nahal Oz was composed primarily of female soldiers, most of whom were unarmed non-combatants despite their station less than 1 kilometer from Gaza. When Hamas attacked the base on October 7, only a few combat soldiers were actually stationed there, and they were easily overrun. The rest of the unarmed soldiers hid in a bomb shelter amidst the attack, and almost all of them were killed or captured. But the time for investigations into why the border and bases were left so exposed will have to wait until after the war effort. As for why it took over a month to confirm Eshel's death, many bodies were practically unidentifiable. That said, the army has a tradition that all soldiers killed in action be buried in a coffin as opposed to a shroud, so as not to cause the families anguish over the state of the body. As of the time of this report, the IDF lists some 363 soldiers, many of whom are dual citizens, as having been killed in action, at least 289 of whom were killed on October 7th. 44 have died in the ground operation in Gaza.
Reporting from Kfar Saba in central Israel, I'm Aaron Porras for the Media Line.